Hi, I'm Teresa and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about some of the books I really just absolutely have to read this year. So I am hoping to read 60 books this year, and I wanted to just pick out a few that are just at the absolute top of my TBR I really want to read, I'm really excited about, and talk a bit about them today. So I am not including new releases because we would be here all day. I cannot narrow them down. But yes, I have got some books that I own, some that I don't own, some series continuations. I've got a whole mix in here, so I think we'll just get started. So one of my goals for 2021 is to finish all of the books that I bought or acquired before 2020, and there are 16 of those left. And I'm not going to go through all of these in the video, we'd be here all day, it'd be quite boring, but I've picked out three that are just at the top of my TBR. I absolutely do need to get to them. The first of these is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. This one I've mentioned in a few of my recent videos about books I want to read soon, and I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna finally do it. I've been saying for years I'm gonna read this series. This series or this author have been my go-to answers for what's a book you really need to read soon for literally years, and I've still just never picked it up, but this year it's gonna change. I'm gonna pick it up. I honestly don't know a lot about this. This is one that I definitely bought because actually it was gifted to me, but I requested because of the hype. And so I really just am going completely on that. I know that you've got a guy called Kel, he's got a funky coat, and he can travel between these different Londons that are kind of layered on top of each other, and they are different colors, or their name is a different color, and this kind of denotes the different political situations, magical situations, whatever. So you've got grey London, which is kind of just normal. You've got white, you've got red, you've got black, and they've all got these different situations happening, and he's traveling between them for some reason. It sounds like a lot of fun, and this series is incredibly well loved, and so is this author's other works, and this is definitely just one I really want to pick up. Next on this list is King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo. So I read the Gershaverse books in 2019, oh my god, and I bought this one but I never got around to reading it because I've been kind of waiting until the sequel, which is called Rule of Wolves, I believe, to come out. And well, it comes out in 2021, so I think it'll just be the perfect time to finally read this one. I do have a bit of a complicated relationship with the Gershaverse because I just do not think that they are incredible. I do not love them as much as so many people in the book community seem to. So I'm excited to see what I think of this one. And yeah, I'm just intrigued by it. I know a lot of people love it, and so there's some characters I'm quite excited to see again, like Nicolai and Nina. Hopefully it's going to be a good time. But yeah, this is a spin-off to the original Gershaverse trilogy, and you've got some of the characters from Six of Crows as well. It's very much one you need to have read the others for, I believe. But hopefully it'll be a good fun time. And the last book from this section is The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. So this is again one that I've mentioned really wanting to read quite often recently, and actually doing that has just got me so excited for it, looking at the synopsis again and things like that, and I'm really hoping to read it actually in the next couple of weeks, maybe before I go back to uni. So this follows a main character called Zachary, and he picks out a book from the library and he's just completely entranced by the story of it, and then he's quite jarred to discover that there's a memory from his own childhood within the book, and so he sets out to kind of figure out what's going on, and this takes him on a wee adventure, and I'm very excited to pick it up. It seems like it's quite academic, lots of cool fun fantasy stuff, it's gay, and I really liked Erin Morgenstern's other book, The Night Circus, so I'm just excited to read more from her as well. And honestly, I just want an excuse to just look at the cover and showcase it everywhere and be able to say I also love the book too, I've not just bought it because of the cover. The next few books I'm going to talk about are some that I also own but I just got in 2020, and honestly I got so many books I cannot wait to read in 2020. It was such a job to try and narrow this down, but yes, so obviously I'm hoping to read as many of these as possible, but here are just some of my top most anticipated ones, absolutely have to read, and also some of the ones that help me with my goals that I mentioned in my 2021 reading goals video, because I want to meet my goals, because I like setting goals, but I like meeting goals even better. So the first of these books I want to talk about is The Miseducation of Cameron Post. This is another one I've mentioned recently. It's been quite intimidating to me, but I really just want to finally pick it up. I'm actually really hoping to start this author's other book, Plain Bad Heroines, quite soon. I'm like looking at it on my nightstand, and I cannot wait to pick this one up as well. I'm a bit scared because it's got quite a heavy subject matter. It deals with conversion therapy, and I feel like I'll just need to be in the right state of mind to read it, basically. So this takes place in like the 80s, 90s, and it follows a girl called Cameron Post, and when her parents die, she has to move in with her conservative aunt, and her aunt realizes that she is not straight and sets out to cure her via conversion therapy. And it doesn't, this book doesn't only deal with conversion therapy. From what I understand, there are happier moments as well, but I know that that's definitely the kind of main theme and something that could potentially be rather upsetting. This is just such a staple in sapphic books and queer books, and it's just one that I really want to have also read and to have also loved. So hopefully I'll be able to read it sometime this year. The next book I'm going to talk about is Loveless by Alice Oseman. This is a book I actually pre-ordered that came out in 2020 but never got around to reading, but I really do want to read more from Alice Oseman and to read this book in particular. So the only Alice Oseman books I've read so far are Heartstopper, Solitaire, and the wee novella that goes along with them, This Winter. And I wasn't a huge fan of Solitaire. It is her first novel, and I know a lot of people also aren't huge fans, but love her newer works. But it definitely just put me off of reading this one straight away. But having now read her novella This Winter, I am excited again by her writing style and her writing, and I do really want to pick up the rest of her book. I own all three, so I just need to pick them up. But I wanted to include this one in particular because it was a pre-order, and I really need to get better at just reading pre-orders when I get them. And also because it's got an asexual main character, and I've not read that many books with asexual rep, and it's just something I want to read more about in books. So yeah. The next book I want to read is We Set the Dark on Fire by Taylor K. Mejia. So this is a Latina-inspired fantasy, and it is sapphic, and I know it deals a lot with feminism and such, and I'm very excited to read that. So this follows a main character called Dani, and she is currently studying at the school for girls where girls are trained to be the perfect wives. But she's not quite got the pedigree that she pretends she has, and when a resistance group figures this out, she has the choice of spying for them and working with them, or them revealing her true identity and her really being relegated to the fringes of society. And it just sounds very interesting. This is the first book in a duology, and I know it's very well loved, and since I've been wanting to read more Latini authors, I thought this would be a good book to put on this list. The next book I want to read is The Wicker King by Kay Ankrum. This is another one that's appeared in a few of my recent videos, and it's actually one that I just started last night, but I'd already made up this list, so I thought I'd keep it anyway, and it means I've read at least one of these this year. So this follows two boys, August and Jack, and they have been really close friends for so long. And so when Jack starts having these visions and hallucinations of this fantasy world kind of layered on top of their own, August goes along with it because he doesn't know what else to do. And they end up in some situations. I was really quite worried that I would find it difficult to understand or to follow with this kind of layering of worlds and how confusing that can be. But so far, we've not really gotten to that point yet. So far I'm just loving the writing style, the narrative style of this book. It's told through really tiny chapters, like 2 pages. You've got some mixed media as well, and it's just, I'm really liking it so far, and I'm very excited to read more. And the final book from this kind of section of books on my own TBR is The Never Tilting World by Rin Chapeko. I mentioned in my 2021 reading goals that this was an author I really wanted to try and to read from, and so here their book is on this list. The sequel this recently came out as well, so I'm very excited to just be able to read the whole duology. And I know that some of my friends absolutely adore it, so I'm just excited to read it as well. And so this follows the perspectives of two sisters, and they rule over this world that's basically just broken. And one half rules over this kind of frozen wasteland where it's always night, and the other one over a desert where it's always incredibly hot and sunny. And this world building actually is very heavily influenced by our world and climate change and such, which is really, really interesting. And so these two princesses slash goddesses, I'm quite confused, I think they might be both, they have to travel together to try and heal this world. And you've got some romances, you've got an MF pairing and an FF pairing, and the FF one is princess and bodyguard, and what a good pairing. I'm very, very excited to pick this one up. The next few books I want to talk about are ones that I do not actually own, but I'm very, very excited to read. The first of these books is An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. So this series has been on my TBR for the longest time. If you go on my Goodreads page and my want to read, it was the first book added of all the ones I've currently got on the list. It's been there a while, and since the series finally finished, I want to pick it up finally and read it and see what everyone loves so much about it. So this is set in this kind of Rome-inspired fantasy world, and you follow two main characters, I believe, Leia and Elias. And Leia's family are essentially slaves, I believe. They do not have any real role in this society. But when something goes wrong with her brother, she decides to join this kind of training academy for soldiers, and as a spy, really. And there she meets Elias, who is the top soldier. From what I can tell, I feel so weird describing these books that I know nothing about. He's maybe not quite as faithful to the Empire as he should be, and this sets them both on this kind of journey against the Empire. And essentially it is just a YA fantasy classic, one I really, really want to pick up, and I'm just hoping to finally do so this year now that the series is complete. The next book I want to read is another one I've mentioned a few times, and that is The Henna Wars by Adiba J. Gurdar. So this book only came out in the UK yesterday at time of filming, and before that it's been a bit difficult to find, I found, but I'm very, very excited to finally pick it up now. This is a sapphic rom-com, and it just sounds so good. I've seen so many rave reviews. This follows two girls with rival henna businesses, so you've got this bit enemies, rivals to lovers thing going on. Sounds incredible, and I'm just so, so excited. I hear that there's a lot of food and culture discussions, which just sounds amazing. I feel like this has been one of the biggest books of 2020 in terms of queer books, sapphic books, and it's just one that I really, really also want to be kind of in on the secret and in on the hype and really love as well. The next book I want to read is another one I might have mentioned before, and that is These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. So this just came out at the end of 2020, and it is a Romeo and Juliet retelling set in 1920s Shanghai, and it sounds so, so good. I've seen so many good reviews for it, and I'm just so excited to pick it up. And I actually didn't realise A, that it's a series, and B, that there's fantastical elements as well. I just thought it was historical fiction, but no, there's magic. But I'm very, very excited to see how this element plays into the story, and just from the art and from the content I've seen, it sounds incredible. I'm so excited by this relationship, enemies to lovers thing we've got going on, and these rival gangs, and oh, it just sounds so good. I cannot wait to pick this one up either. And the final book I want to talk about in this section is The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. So this is another series that just very recently concluded, and seeing everyone read it has got me having a bit of FOMO. I really want to just know what's happening, and I'm too scared to pick it up, but I put it on this list because I'm hoping that I will become less scared at some point during 2021. I have been struggling with fantasy, but I've got quite a few fantasy books on this list because I just want to get back into the genre. There's so many titles I want to pick up, and I'm hoping that I do kind of get back into the genre and I can then pick this one up, because I don't think The Poppy War is a good place to start with getting back into fantasy. I think that might be just a bit too much. So this book is a historical fantasy really, and it's inspired by some recent events in Chinese history, and I'm so intrigued by that and by the fantastical element, and I've seen some character art, and I'm just, I want to read it, and I want to know what everyone loves about it so much. I know that it can be quite painful. I've seen so many people crying reading it, and you know what? Maybe I also want to cry while reading a book like that. I think that's a sign of a good book when it can make you absolutely bawl your eyes out. And the final wee bit I want to do is 3 series I want to continue in 2021, and I'm actually not in the middle of very many series. which I'm quite happy with, but it's also because I've mostly been reading contemporary standalones, so I've not really started any series. But I have got a few series that I started in 2020 that I want to continue, and one of those is the Girls of Paper and Fire series by Natasha Nagan. So I've only so far read the first book, but I really want to pick up the sequel sometime soon. And the third book, whenever that comes out. I know the publication has been delayed a bit, but I think it's still on for 2021. Not too certain yet. But this is an Asian-inspired fantasy. It is sapphic, and it was really, really good. I really loved the first book, and the series is quite well loved as well. So it's just one that I really want to be part of and to read and love as well. I really loved the first book, and I'm so excited to see where it's going to go next. Like, from where the first book left off, there's so many different directions the series could go, and I'm very excited to see where they do go. I'm just excited about it. I love Lei and Ren, the main character and the love interest. They're just fab. They're great. Icons, truly. The next series I want to continue is the Kane Chronicles by Rick Riordan. I don't own any of the other books in the series just quite yet, mostly because I don't think I can find them with the same cover as this. I got this in a charity shop, so I might need to have mismatched covers, which I do not like. But I've been slowly working my way through Rick Riordan's books, and I really want to just continue with that in 2021. And I want to at least finish the Kane Chronicles, if not also start Markness Chase or the Apollo books, hopefully. So this follows a brother and sister called Carter and Sadie Kane, and they are just kind of thrown into this world of ancient Egyptian mythology. And it turns out that their family is descended from the pharaohs and everything, and there's this cool society, and I just love how Rick Riordan puts mythology into the modern world. I think it's just so clever, and I really love reading it. I wasn't blown away by this first book, so I am just hoping that the rest of the series picks up a bit. But yes, I'm very excited to read more from Rick Riordan and to read more from this series. And the final series I want to continue in 2021 is the Illuminate Files by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. So this is one that I read in December, and it just blew me away. I was not expecting to enjoy it nearly as much as I did. This is a sci-fi following two teenagers whose planet has been destroyed, and they're now on this little fleet of ships trying to escape from the big ship that came and blew up their planet. And there's some weird stuff happening, rogue AI, things like that. And it is told through a multimedia format, and it was just such a joy to read. I really, really liked it in a way I was not expecting. So I'm just very excited to continue with the series. I hear it just gets better and better. This is one of the very few books that I read from my own TBR of books that I bought before 2020. I actually want to continue with the series with. A lot of them, I read the first book and I was like, it's decent, but I don't care enough to continue. But this one, I really do want to continue, if you're wondering how much I enjoyed it. And yes, that is all the books I want to read in 2021. Well, no, but it's the main ones, the ones I'm going to talk about in this video. And so that is the end of the video. If you've enjoyed, please feel free to leave a like, a comment, subscribe if you haven't. It really helps out, you know, tell me what books you want to read in 2021, things like that. And yes, I'll have social links and everything down below, the usual blah blah blah. Thank you very, very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed, and I will see you with another video soon.